City of Stevens Point Board of Water and Sewerage Commissioners meeting, recorded August 10, 2020.
So, first item of business is the minutes of last month. Are there any suggestions or changes anybody would like to make? If not, a motion is in order.
I'll move to approve. Ray.
This is Carl. I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item is department claims as highlighted on your screen agenda. We'll do water first as usual. Any
This is
questions?
This is Carl. I got a question on 54388. What is the manganese issue? Is that a private residence or is that a?
Yeah. Sometimes when we run into issues where we recognize that something happened in the system that ended up bringing sediment into the house that sometimes will plug up fixtures, we will end up hiring a plumber to rectify that when it's very clear that it was our issue as part of construction or something like that, that just was kind of unforeseeable and non-intentional. So this is one of those where they probably had to backflush lines in a home, take some fixtures apart, things like that to rectify it.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Joel, on 54476, the fiber optic issue. So we paid out $392,379. Where will we be informed that we're being reimbursed for that as planned?
It doesn't show up in because this is a payment of claims, obviously our revenues don't show up, but like it mentions there, the pass-through billing, the stuff we get from Alexco and from MC&E on this project gets entirely billed to the school district. So we will have a check coming from the school district for amounts equal to what we're paying our contractors.
Yeah, that was my understanding, but how does the commission know that those checks in fact have arrived?
Good question. I guess what we could do for this project in particular, because it is kind of a pass-through project, we could present a kind of summary of those payments received, if you'd like. I think we're probably on, Mary, if you're on here, you'd probably know more. We've probably received 3 or 4 from them. Is that about right?
I want to say 3 from Alexico. And then
right, but the return payment from the school district?
They pay very promptly. But yeah, we certainly can print a history of their payment history if Paul would like to see that.
Yeah. How about, Paul, I'll make a note for next meeting and talk to you about it a little bit ahead of time to make sure that I capture what you're looking for there.
Yeah, it's probably something as simple as a title that says, fiber optic school district pass-through billing report. And then you'd have the date that you paid the outfit, Alexo, their name, because there will be 2 on occasion, 2 different ones, if I understand you correctly. And then when we sent the check to Alexo, and then the last column might be, or the next item might be when we received the check from the school district, what date and what the amount was.
Sure. Okay.
Something to that effect. It doesn't have to be super detailed by any point, but there's a lot of money we're sending out, and we should have something until the project is complete, documenting it so that the commissioners can say that they were monitoring it.
You bet. And we're at a pretty important part of that project. We're nearly complete. So I may even get something together and send it out mid-month so that it's timely for you.
I don't think that's necessary. The next meeting is just
okay.
fine, so.
All right.
Any other questions about the water department claims? Okay, let's go on to sewer. Any questions?
I've got one question on 34613, Donahue and Associates, Design and Bidding Services. Is that a new project? For
Nope,
lift
actually,
stations,
the
or
lift
is that
station project, we've already issued the letter of substantial completion for. That was the 5 lift stations that we replaced this year.
Okay.
You may recall we bid out 3 with an option to approve more, and because we got favorable prices, we approved 5. So yeah, this is really near the tail end of their services, but they did do the design and bidding service and a degree of inspection and contract management too. So we're getting near the end of that.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? If not, on to stormwater. Any questions at stormwater?
I have one comment, if I could, real quick. For the commission, we look at the 3 payment of claims here separately, and on occasion, when we have 2 months in a row, we'll be looking at 6 of these because there's 1 for each utility and 2 months. So I did want to let you guys know this is the last month, the way I understand it, that these will appear separately, water, sewer, storm. You recall back a while where we got the okay from you guys to combine our accounts into a single ledger for a number of reasons that makes a lot of the internal accounting, paperwork, reporting, just our monthly process a lot easier. And we're finally getting to a point where we can do that. So I believe that starting next month, the payment of claims will be a single payment of claims for the Stevens Point public utilities rather than separating it out water, sewer, storm. Now, we will still have the ability to give you all the same detail on the payment of claims. So it's not that we have any less, but it'll be under one item.
Well, that is, I appreciate the fact that you're giving us an advance notice so that, you know, when we look at it, if is there a possibility that we can suggest changes if we think they might be in order?
Well, we'll always do whatever we can. Yeah. So I've yet to see what it's going to look like. So why don't we get through 1 month there, and if there's some things that need a little tweaking, we'll see if we're capable of doing that, and of course do whatever we can to, you know, get the detail in front of you that you want.
The only reason I asked that question is I think the rest of the commissioners would agree with me that there's some value, inherent value, if nothing else, in knowing which claims apply to which of the 3 departments. If they're all in one, if they're all in one report, that's fine. But I would like to think we would have some subtitles or something in there that would help us understand which service the claims were made for.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, after the meeting here, I'll touch base with Mary to see what kind of segregation that we can do internal to the single report that might hint at the enterprise fund that it's coming out of, and we'll see what we can do to get it right the first time.
This is Carl.
I don't know. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is Carl. I also find monitoring the cash flow of the different departments, like at the top of the page, as bank balances versus deposits received and then matched against disbursement. Just giving an idea of the ebb and flow of a particular department is helpful.
Real good.
All right. If there's no other questions, a motion to approve the department, all 3 sets of the department claims is in order.
Move to approve. This is Carl.
I'll second Ray.
No, well, whomever.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We're on to water supply and distribution reports. Eric?
Yeah, so it looks like last year and this year are spitting images so far this summer with pumping. Nothing out of the ordinary there. The only thing I wanted to add is now our well 5 asbestos inspection is complete. He had to come back in early July and finish up, so no asbestos found. So we're ready to pull the trigger on demoing that property. That's south of Hilltop Pub for all of you. So that well will be abandoned properly this fall. That's the only thing I had to add.
All right.
Any questions?
This is Carl. On that abandonment, does that involve any changes in the use of the property at that point? You know, with the parkland nearby?
Sure. That Joel could probably chime in a little bit. We talked to them. We had WPS disconnect the power and gas to that facility already. Joel's been talking with Dan about, I don't know if he's going to turn it over or what, but that's close enough. That Joel, do you have anything to add?
Yeah,
with that?
I think after the abandonment of the well and we pretty much get out of that site from a utility interest, not much will have to change. The property out there isn't split up. There isn't any lines between what is parks and what is utilities out there. And since they use that driveway to get back to what is the Girl Scout Lodge, with our well building gone, it'll just kind of, you know, rejoin to the park, and we'll make sure that any improvements we've made aren't a liability or an obstacle for the parks at all, and it'll just become part of the park, really. So we don't have a separate interest in that than the city as a whole.
Did I understand?
We do have a hydrant. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Did I understand you say that the building is going to be raised?
Correct.
Is it in that bad a shape that we couldn't get there? I mean, it's almost pretty much a historic building, I would say.
Not any of the lodge stuff that we're talking about. We're just talking about the concrete block building that's on the way back to the lodge. It's just square building, flat roof, inside a little fenced area. The reason it's getting raised is because well 5 itself, the physical well structure, is getting abandoned because of the nitrate levels in it. So once we have no equipment in there anymore, the building doesn't really serve any purpose. And I think you might be thinking of the Girl Scout Lodge or one of those brick buildings back there. That is a pretty neat old historic building. This one is just plain, it's like a standard little pump house, square cinder block, painted kind of this yellowy color.
I was thinking of the wrong building. So
yeah.
You're
The one thing I was gonna add is there is still a hydrant back there that we'll have to maintain, and then the water service for the Girl Scout Lodge, and then a vault for the meter pit for the golf course. So we'll still have access. We'll still probably be at that site a couple times a year, but the rest of it will be parks.
very
I've got
good.
a question on the abandonment itself. After we abandon that well, is that going to change our wellhead protection mapping?
Yeah, I mean, there are clearly Zone A and Zone B would reflect well 5, and I know that that's stuff we're talking about kind of locally here, at the county level right now. So that will definitely change. Now, there's some overlap in that stuff, and well 4 is still near enough by that the change is probably going to be quite negligible. But yeah, it'll change the way we look at that.
Okay. So that information is such that we can go on to report on well 11.
Yeah, so we had a different company recommended from a totally separate engineer come out to well 11 and take a look at the roof with me and Mike. He did 4 or 5 different core samples of the roof. Well 11 has 2 separate roofs. It has a lower roof and then an upper roof that are both rubber membrane, separated about 5 feet with a straight vertical wall. Both roofs are considered or deemed poor condition. he found that there is no vapor barrier between the concrete deck of the roof and the foam insulation underneath the rubber, which that guy highly recommends in any facility like this to have a vapor barrier between the concrete roof deck and the roofing material. On that vertical wall between the upper and lower roof, we have a couple of skylight windows that the flashing on the bottom is only about 3 inches above the lower roof, where it is not to be installed less than 8 inches. So there might be some stuff that wasn't installed according to the spec of the engineer in the original documents. And then also the well 11 roof was installed only with the vapor barrier as a spray coating on the inside of the building. And he found numerous spots where that has failed or not even applied 100%. So I think we've got a lot to stand on. Joel, I think the next step, we're going to be talking with the city attorney to see where we go from here. But it looks like we've got a really good background and a really good write-up from this other company on what we should be looking at. So
That sounds excellent. Remind us how old that building is.
that building would be 9 years old.
Yeah. And a roof like that should last the minimum of 25 to 30 years in my experience.
Well, and more importantly to that even is that we started noticing issues in the 2 to 5 year area, and we started kind of moving on investigating the causes and stuff. So it's taken a while, but we've definitely gotten to the point that Eric was alluding to where we've got some cause.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to a report from the city attorney in the not too distant future then. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, on to sewage treatment operations. Chris?
All right. The wastewater plant met all of our permit limits for the month. It's always good. We were able to, these numbers aren't great, I'll warn you ahead of time. We were able to produce 10% of our electricity we used on site from the biogas engine, and then 33% of our heat. That was due to the fact that we were only able to run at about 50% right now on the generator, and we had about 2.5 to 3 weeks of downtime due to during restart of the generator, we had a electrical capacitor go out. So we had to wait for that to get repaired. Now we're back up, at least running at 50%. We do have a plugged radiator on that unit. So the max we can run right now is 55% without overheating the unit. So we're in the process of working with some other individuals who know HVAC stuff way better than I do as to how to clean that radiator out and get it back to original condition. So that's what we're working on right now. Hopefully next week we'll have a good solution and be able to move forward with it. It's more just on the line of cleaning cottonwood fibers out from in between multiple stacks of radiator fins. So we're just looking for a chemical that'll break that down without damaging anything.
Very good.
The odor control study that we had done, the vendor that Donahue and Associates had gotten a hold of is recommending a chemical scrubber to remove the possible odors that are coming off the dryer. They're looking at $400,000 to $600,000 for that system. It's a pretty costly option. So we're looking in-house. Is there a better way to operate? Is there something else we can do that maybe we've missed? Even as far as going and trying to bubble this air, this condensed air back through our aeration system, through our aeration tanks, and see if we can remove a majority of the odor that way. So we're definitely going to start looking into that a little bit more. But at least we've got a base kind of ballpark look at what they're recommending anyway.
Chris, I don't know if you or Joel, whoever, when you go to conventions for, the industry, we can't be the only sewer and water district with this problem, especially
Correct.
considering that many of the plants are in more densely populated areas than ours is. I don't know how I would approach it if I was trying to deal with the problem, but maybe there's more than one alternative that you could learn of from some other utility somewhere. And that might make your job easier rather than try to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely. Those are things that we're actually going through and doing. We've done already a lot of it. Dealing with just different municipalities around the country that I've dealt with. I know of 5 or 6 that do different odor control things. And I've talked to those guys already as to how do they do it, what do they do. And obviously every odor is different and everybody does things different. But the kind of the low cost, the low hanging fruit here thought was to try a temporary piping system over to our aeration basin and try that, because that has worked in other places. But depending on what is actually causing the odor, will change what we do, or will change what effect that has on it. And then we'll work our way through there. But yeah, we've definitely reached out to quite a few people already. And I'll keep my eyes open for anything else that might pop up.
Are we getting complaints from neighbors around there?
Not really, but there is definitely an odor change. I mean, there's an odor to the area. So we just want to make sure that we're ahead of the game, knowing what we can do, what we can't do. So then if we have to do something, then we're able to jump on it a little quicker than the amount of time that it normally takes a project to go through.
Okay.
Staff could maybe want to consider whether there's any value in keeping a log of complaints over a period of time. I'm not saying there might be a lot of value to that, but it's something that you might want to consider, because it's certainly, well, like I said, just give it some thought. So.
You bet.
Anything else, Chris?
Yeah, we've got some really good news. The Wisconsin River TMDL, the total maximum daily load study that the DNR had done about our total phosphorus numbers going to the river. They had originally come in at our current permit says our next permit needs to be a 0.1 milligram per liter, which is a very, very, very low number. That number was increased by 300% initially when the original TMDL came through, but that's still only a 0.3, and a 0.3 is still pretty low, to the point where we're looking at infrastructure upgrades, things like that. The new site-specific criteria that the EPA passed that the EPA approved, that the DNR had put together, which is a more accurate description of how the phosphorus moves through the waterway. It actually increased that permit level again by about 81%. So we're going to be in that 0.4 to 0.5 milligram per liter range, which is a lot more reachable with our current setup, with just some minor upgrades, maybe a upgrade to aeration or something along those lines, without hopefully having to put any filtration in on the backside.
Well, that is good news.
Yeah, excellent. So
that's what I've got for you today.
thank you, Chris. All right, on to the collection system maintenance report. Did I miss mine in my packet? I don't see a typical report. Not that it matters.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's not a report in the packet. You're right. I'm not sure what to tell you there, but Craig can comment on that and the next item.
So the construction project for the year at Fremont Street is, utilities are all finished as of late last week. They have some grading to do. Everything went well there. They moved out to Wildwood by Fleet Farm Friday, and they started installing, they actually lowered some water main stuff for installing the storm sewer that needs to be added out there. That seems to be going well. They hope to finish this week on that so they can get the road back together for the school. And then we also have, they're going to do a couple little projects for us. So one little outfall project out in Bucco Park that needs to be replaced that we found early this spring. So they're going to do that for us. And then a little storm sewer extension for the city off of Frederick Street. As far as the crews go, collection crew tomorrow, I think, is working with some of Chris's staff on cleaning some annual cleaning of some lift stations. And then it's just televising and sewer cleaning and televising. So
Sounds good. Anything else?
No, we can jump to storm right away. That crew is, last week we got, through your blessing, we bought a skid steer this spring with a brush mower, and we did some maintenance on some storm ponds that haven't been done for a long time. Piece of equipment worked out really, really good. Satisfied with that. And they have some catch basin stuff to redo for some manhole repair stuff for a project that the street department is doing on Rogers Street. And also then just standard maintenance as far as cleaning sewer main or storm sewer main and that kind of stuff. So,
Craig, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Ray.
Which storm ponds were you doing the mowing on?
So mostly we started with the two new ponds that are on for the overpass. So it'll be on the north side of the tracks on Hoover and the south side.
Okay.
And then we also have some ditches and stuff that we want to tackle, but time allowed us last week with some vacations and stuff, so we could get one person on that machine and get out and at least try it out and make sure that we had purchased what we needed, and it worked out really well. So
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Community area network.
Yeah, so this, not a whole lot new to report, but in the payment of claims, the item we talked about there with the pass-through, that's our biggest item right now, the school project. Conduits in the ground, a good percentage of the fiber is now pulled through the conduit. Most of the building entries are completed to the different school buildings and nearing completion there. So outside of the school project itself, we're going to be looking at, and we just talked in a staff meeting this morning, because we'll be taking over the locating of that infrastructure. I believe it was this calendar year that we officially took over the assets related to the community area network. So we're going to be looking at taking over the locating. In other words, when you call Digger's Hotline and you end up with paint on the road showing you where your facilities are, we'll be doing that for that set of infrastructure, probably for sure before the next construction season, very likely before the end of the year, I'd say, if I had to guess. And that's about it on that item.
A question, Joel?
Yeah.
This is Carl. Will there be expenses, cash in and cash claims under this network that will show up now in the combined report, or will it be a separate report if it does, or is it something that doesn't have a lot of, like maintenance associated with it?
Right. Right now, the way it exists is that the community area network is technically under the enterprise of the stormwater fund. So the few things that we've had to do in there kind of move in and out of there. And of course, we're keeping track of everything separate from storm and fiber. And we talked about that some time ago. As the network grows, I think we will end up treating it very much like one of the other enterprises, whether that's, full chart of accounts difference or not, so that we can better track the kind of in and out like you're talking about. But that'll come once the network is kind of online, if you will, for the school district. They're going to be our second customer, but several sites, like 12 or something, come online when they come on as a customer. We have one customer right now, and that's Midstate Tech downtown. And they pay a bill, and they pay for an entire year's worth of service at one crack. You recall we created those rates in Chapter 13 some time ago, so it's like $400 a month. So they just pay a $4,800 bill once a year. So as the school district comes online, we'll have cash flow in for the community area network fund, and we'll evaluate how to best keep track of that so that it's very clear.
Thank you.
So the money that's been received from Midstate so far has not been provided in writing to the commission. Is that correct?
Well, I'm sorry, Joel. It's included in the stormwater totals.
Right. So we're reporting on everything. It's just like I said, because it's not its own enterprise quite yet. Everything, not only revenue but expenses, are handled in the number 3 fund, the stormwater fund. So it's all there. Yeah.
But once everything is operating at 100%, there'll be a different type of report. Is what I understand you to say.
I think we're going to get there, yeah, because so far it's been a pretty insignificant little fund because we didn't have any customers. And as soon as it became obvious that this community area network would operate like a utility, that's when we went down the path of separating it, getting the assets officially transferred from the city to the utilities. And so it's been a process, and this has really been the year of transition. So far there's been this, more record keeping process to say, here's the things that have been relevant to the community area network. They show up in stormwater right now, but we will be able to pull it all apart at a time, probably when we start billing the school district or something like that.
Very good. All right. Anything else, Joel, for your report?
No, nothing to add.
All right. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.